Left my phone on. Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider doesn't carry Fired Up, ask them to do that. They can contact Rigel Studios for information. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. Check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, you can send me an email at bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 257-1060. Please leave your number if you want a return call. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely accurately covered by mainstream media. Each week, I select a few to expand listeners' understanding of the issues involved in using deadly force. Individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun-savvy defense attorney is always recommended. Stories are paraphrased for clarity by translation from police jargon, lawyer speak, and regional accents into standard American English. The incidents are as reported, but the names of the participants are deleted. The names of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used. This first up today, I have some comments and direction on the riot in the Capitol complex in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday evening. As I sat down to write my show, I'm looking up stories, and here comes the riot over the internet. We are a representative republic that, as founded, is designated for peaceful transfer of power during presidential elections. I have discussed methods on many shows for our pro-Second Amendment side to get through the possible upcoming disaster of a left side victory during the then upcoming 2020 election. That disaster is now upon us. Both sides of Congress and the White House are in Democrat hands. With the new Biden-Harris administration about to be in control, their wish list of firearms laws is about to fall on all gun-owning Americans. The likely new anti-gun bills and executive orders will include banning evil-looking military-style rifles through a forced buyback program, bans on possession of any detachable magazines that hold over 10 or possibly over 7 cartridges, purchase limits on firearms, no more than one every 30 days, ammunition purchase limits by quantity, and proof that you own a firearm in that caliber. Beto O'Rourke has vowed, as the new cabinet-level gun czar, to destroy the entire firearms industry. The crowning change will be the elimination of the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Firearms Act, the PLCAA, that was passed in 2005. The act generally shields firearm manufacturers, dealers, and sellers, as well as trade associations, from any civil action resulting from the criminal or unlawful use of firearms. The plan is to make manufacturers, wholesalers, and dealers liable in civil court if a firearm they placed in commerce is used in any crime. No matter if it was stolen or resold several times, the individual or company that placed it in commerce is to be held responsible. The result will be that we'll have no liability insurance available. What insurer could possibly issue a policy that covers that risk, I expect the entire firearms industry will slow to a crawl. There is a solution. I try to offer solutions on this show, so listen up, maybe this will help. In less than 2 years, all seats in the House of Representatives are up for election. Many Senate seats are also in play as well. The Democrat radical policies will make it impossible to control street crime, as law enforcement budgets will be cut over and over again. The Biden-Harris plan to clear jails of criminals who were unjustly treated because of their race or immigration status. Drugs will flow freely with decriminalization of them. Try as best you can to comply with any new regulations. If we manage to control ourselves, that means no conservative riots. We will recover. The conduct of the Capitol riot protesters was totally wrong. I do realize the frustration with the evidence of a stolen election. That being said, I expect that when the investigation of today's riot is complete, we will discover Antifa operatives mixed in to start violent acts and draw otherwise normal Americans into the fray. They have done this over and over in New York City, Portland, Seattle, and most other major cities. Why would the Capitol riot be any different? Hang in there. This will be over in 2 years. Find some good candidates to support and start now to vote the bastards out of office. NBC News journalist Adam Edelman reported today, January 7, 2021 presumptive Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called on Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Donald Trump from office, and a group of House Democrats began circulating articles of impeachment in response to Trump's indictment of crowd supporters that violently stormed the U.S. Capitol. Schumer, as all of you know, a Democrat of New York, said in a statement, "What happened at the U.S. Capitol yesterday was an insurrection against the United States, incited by the president. The president should not hold office one day longer. I think they are practicing so they are ready to remove Joe Biden and make Kamala Harris president as soon as Biden is sworn in." What they're doing is a setup. There were Antifa guys mixed in that crowd that did the rioting and melted into the crowd when it was over. They're investigating now. We hope to have some indictments out according to this morning's information. So hang in there. We're going to run a short commercial for my latest book, and I'll be right back. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. The book looks like this. It's pretty long. It's over 100 pages, I think. You need to get one, and you can read it on Amazon, or you can buy one from them, and they'll ship you a hard copy. Anyway, we are back. KFDA News 10 TV reported January 4, 2021, that sounds like a day before yesterday, in Amarillo, Texas. Amarillo officers were called to a suspicion call at a home near 3rd Avenue and South Jackson Street, just after 5 in the morning. Responding officers found 2 people dead in the home. Homicide detectives were called to the scene to investigate. Detectives have learned the homeowner confronted one of the male suspects committing the burglary. That suspect attacked the homeowner and the two began fighting. Police say the second suspect tried to assault the homeowner and the homeowner shot both intruders because he was in fear of being killed. Both the suspects died at the scene. They've been identified as a 27-year-old and a 43-year-old. Detectives interviewed the homeowner and later released him. The case will be presented to the Potter County Grand Jury and remains under investigation. The homeowner, no age was given on him, was armed with a handgun. Comments on this, it's just one more case wherein an armed homeowner is able to defend himself. The law enforcement response is never fast enough when you find intruders in your home. How could it possibly be that quick? If the squad car is on the same block, it takes a few minutes for them to get the call from dispatch to the police unit, and then they have to react. As they say, when seconds count, the police are only a few minutes away. That is true. You have to be able to defend yourself. Story number 3. The South Florida Sentinel, a journalist named Wayne K. Rostan, reported January 5th, 2021 in North Lauderdale, Florida. An armed burglary suspect was shot around 2 in the morning by an armed resident. The 38-year-old intruder was inside the home in the 8,000 block of Southwest 5th Street when 911 was called. Investigators said the 21-year-old resident confronted him and fired. Witnesses in the home told detectives that the 38-year-old was armed with a gun at the time of the shooting. Detectives found a gun in the home that they believe belonged to that intruder. North Lauderdale Fire Rescue pronounced the intruder dead at the scene of the shooting. If this is determined to be a case of self-defense, the 21-year-old resident is unlikely to be charged, but the Broward State Attorney's Office will actually make that decision. The deceased was sentenced to a little more than 1 year in prison in 2004 for a cocaine conviction, according to the Florida Department of Corrections. His Broward County record shows 7 felony arrests dating back to 1987 for drug possession, fraud, and firing a gun into a building. Comments here is another career criminal finds his last victim. The thing is that burglars succeed in their first crime, so they try it again. The average is about 10 before they are caught, when they get a short jail stay and probably probation. The pattern continues. For the next few burglaries, they get a few years. In prison, they learn from other prisoners some better techniques. They are finally released to encounter their last victim. The system eventually works. They find a victim who kills them. We're going to break here for just a moment for a few words from some of our friends and supporters. I'll be back in just a few. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies-only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. I was going to mention just last night when I went by the Mixed Martial Arts MMA Studio that's advertised here. It's on the corner of Jones and Russell. Was open last night when I drove by, doing their kids' classes with social distancing and so forth. So if you want to get your youngsters some training, they are running their classes with everything set up as they're supposed to be to legally be able to teach the classes. It's a great outlet for the kids and teaches them self-discipline and all sorts of good side effects. So try and visit him if you can. If you've got kids from 5 to 15, they will get them involved. Story number 4, Live 5 WCFC TV, a journalist named Ray Rivera, reported January 4, 2021 in Berkeley County, South Carolina. An investigation began on December 29, just after 1:30 in the morning, when the Berkeley County deputies responded to a home on Mosby Street. Responding deputies met the resident, who immediately told them he had placed his gun out of reach on the floor. Good idea. He told deputies that he had shot 2 male intruders who had attacked him when he opened his door. The resident explained it started when he heard someone knocking on his front door, and someone said, "It's Hal, your neighbor." The incident report states that when the resident opened the door, two male intruders pushed through the door, with one of them grabbing the resident and slinging him across the room. That'll wake you up. The resident said he reached into his pocket, took out a gun, and fired four rounds at the suspects. The intruders then ran from the scene, and the resident told his girlfriend to call the police. The resident added that he observed a car running in the nearby area with a female subject standing outside of it and a male subject sitting in the driver's seat. The resident said he yelled out the door that he was calling the police, at which time the vehicle left. That's twice in a row it worked. The sheriff's office then responded to Roper St. Francis Hospital for two gunshot victims that arrived shortly after this incident. It was determined the two wounded men were likely the home invaders. No kidding. The victim's girlfriend said she was in a back room of the home when the incident happened. She heard someone knocking on the door, her boyfriend going to the front door, and then heard banging around, followed by gunshots. According to Deputy Carly Drayton, the intruders will face charges of first-degree burglary and third-degree assault and battery. One intruder was still hospitalized following the shooting, but he has active warrants. The second intruder will face the same charges. Comments here. The girlfriend's statement confirms the resident's story just minute to minute. Carrying your defensive firearm while at home guarantees you will be armed whenever and whenever. Huh. The bad guy shows up. I wrote the outline wrong. That saves having to stash several firearms around your entry and exit points, as well as buying more lock boxes to store them all in. It's a really good idea if you have children and have access to your house also. You have the gun with you and the kids won't be getting into it. Important to do that. Lots of child shootings accidental. We had several of them in Vegas already this year. Story number 5. The National Shooting Sports Foundation reports January 5, 2021, a new concealed carry legislation by Representative Richard Hudson, a Republican from North Carolina. The Carry Concealed Reciprocity Act, it's H.R. 38, has been introduced into Commerce with a bipartisan support and 154 original co-sponsors, demonstrating the wide-ranging support for protecting law-abiding concealed weapon permit holders from navigating a patchwork of varying gun law control laws when they cross a state line. The bill aims to eliminate the confusion of varying state-by-state laws and provide protection for the Second Amendment rights of permit holders. The legislation would allow handgun owners who are legally permitted and authorized by their home state to carry a concealed firearm in other states while complying with the laws of each state, much in the same way a driver's license is recognized. Lawrence Keene, NSF's Senior Vice President and General Counsel, said, "This legislation provides an answer to the confusing patchwork of laws surrounding concealed carry permits, particularly with regard to states where laws make unwitting criminals out of permit holders for the mistake of making a wrong turn in traffic and finding themselves in a different jurisdiction. It safeguards the state's right to determine their own laws while protecting the Second Amendment rights of all Americans." They said, "We thank Representative Hudson for his leadership on behalf of America's hunters and recreational shooters." Comments here. First, I am a member and strong supporter of the National Shooting Sports Foundation. You know them because they put on the SHOT shows that are here every so often, except this year. Several years ago, I even received their Dealer of the Year award for supporting responsible firearms training. That being said, nice try, guys. This bill has zero chance of passing through either the House of Representatives and with this week's losses in Georgia, the United States Senate. All states will still insist on their own rules. The public's belief that some new interstate carry law exists will land a lot of gun owners in jail. This bill should actually be titled the Lawyers Full Employment Act. What is needed is national constitutional carry. Perhaps after we flip the House and Senate 2 years from now, after President Harris and Beto O'Rourke finish destroying the right to self-defense and the murder rate triples, it could happen. Just stay steady. We'll get through this. And now, another word from a couple more of our sponsors. I'll be right back. Attorney Donald J. Green, a common guest of mine on Fired Up. He can be reached at 702-409-8239. He specializes in gun case litigation. He is your man. Don Green, 702-409-8239. And Battlefield Vegas, my new kind of home for this show. They're on Circus Circus Drive, directly behind the Circus Circus Hotel and Casino. You can find them there with CCW classes and an amazing place for gun rentals, everything you could possibly imagine. Check out, if you're in town as a tourist, check out battlefieldvegas.com. Last short story of the day. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has proposed strengthening the state's stand your ground law as a means of combating looting of stores and mob attacks on neighborhoods. A no duty to retreat law would give intended victims a chance not only to stay alive, but not be sued if they fail to run away from violent criminals. Critics say it would open the door to vigilante justice. That's simply wrong. It gives intended victims the ability to defend themselves, their businesses, and their families' financial future. DeSantis here is on the right track. No duty to retreat laws like we have here in Nevada have saved the day for many, many victims of crime. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters. I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, numerous other websites, television, and radio shows. While watching any media, just click on subscribe and new shows will be sent to your phone or computer automatically. My logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you are ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. You can shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of firearms and even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their associated outdoor facility. Transportation is provided. Contact info at battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you so much for watching Fired Up. We will get through this Democrat mess of gun laws that are about to fall on you. Have a good week. I'll be back.